See the reason why I hated her, considering I only used like 40% of her? I was just bad, dude. Mainly what it came down to, but yeah. Okay, hold up. Do I just do an intro? I guess not. I just start playing it, right? Anyway, we got through the first 20 minutes of this train wreck, and so we're gonna do more train wreck reaction. Who's next? It's alphabetical, right? Is it Bounty Hunter? It is. These are not in a specific order outside of the bottom ones. Again, this is just how they're written in my notes, but we're gonna do the Bounty Hunter. Kablam! Alright, so the Bounty Hunter. Very cool class, very almost edgelordy in a way. True. Right, just this masked man collecting bounties, man of few words, just slicing stuff. You may have already noticed the fact that he's next to the Arbalest. There's this theme that they both share with Mark and critting and high rolling and stuff. The theme isn't that they're Mark characters, the theme is that I suck at Mark and I'm projecting this as my opinion into something for this tier list. My god. Points. I still have that Bounty Hunter. There are times where the Bounty Hunter will just chain 3 crits together and it just seems like the best class. And you're going, why don't I take this everywhere? But outside of some good RNG, you have to dig a little deeper into the specifics to see why he occupies his own space in the... I'm talking like I have this information that no one else has been able to figure out, dude. Like a code that no one's been able to crack. You have to come to obscure 700 subscriber YouTuber Shuffle FM. Oh my god. Any character with a stun below A tier terrifies you? Yeah, dude. Stuns are too good. He's got 2 stuns! Oh my god. Noble B tier. The actual biggest reason that he's not higher is that the Highwayman exists. I'm doing what I'm supposed to here, though. I'm marking Virago. Highwayman is just better. I was talking to Nicole about this today. This is where I said this crap where Highwayman just eclipses this character, which is not true. It's not true. What happened to Anemone? The link? Where is it? 42069. I forgot that. Okay. It's a meme link. Alright. I feel in almost every way possible than the Bounty Hunter. The Bounty Hunter has a couple more hit points. Oh my god. But he has lower speed. He has less versatility. He doesn't have lower speed. He has the same speed as Highwayman, but I forgot that Dismas starts with QR. Download more ram.net. Oh my god. Oh my god. Utility in his attacks. He's only melee outside of a couple supporting. Only melee as I throw caltrops type skills. And his damage is lower than the Highwayman, so he's always putting out a little less. And you're really just banking on crits. And the fact that Mark is okay as a strategy. Like, again, no strategy is outright terrible unless it's actually stupid or something, but... Except how I'm just portraying Mark as just being garbage. Mark is probably not the best DPS strategy, so that leaves our lonely Bounty Hunter down here. I will say though, his personal mark, lowering protection, is very good. It's probably the best, I would say. Between being able to lower dodge and lower prot, I'd rather lower prot. No skill chance trinkets, yeah, I'm just playing like crap. Got it right with the marks though, I like lowering prot over dodge. In most cases. Because I can always slap on a trinket to get some extra accuracy. I can't slap on a trinket to get armor piercing, I don't think. I don't think there's an armor piercing trinket yet in the game. I don't know if they ever put one in. His higher base speed makes marking a problem. Also, he can't do, like, his higher... How does his higher base speed make marking a problem unless he's setting himself up? Which is why you run 2 Bounty Hunters. With the Arbalest, you can have the Bounty Hunter mark, and then the Arbalest finishes him off. With the Bounty Hunter, he's still pretty quick, so he's got like one turn where he's kind of doing something else, waiting for the mark person, unless it's like the Houndmaster and you manipulate speed with the Bracer or something like that, or Quick Draw, but otherwise the Bounty Hunter is just kind of doing his own thing the first turn. He's not usually set up by then. Some of his buffs that came through actually were pretty good. Come Hither, being able to mark was really good. Look at that production value, dude. Oh my god, I still have this arrow. I use this for everything. This is a green clip art arrow. Drops is actually fantastic now. I would probably move him up to the A tier by itself if Caltrops could hit the second rank, but it can't. Why can't Caltrops hit rank 2, dude? Why? That'd be so pog. And it can only go to 3 and 4, but his different ways to stun, he can hit from the first 3 ranks pretty reliably. His different ways to mark, those are all worth something, right? They're still pretty good. But overall, most of the rating comes down to the fact that his marking and crit killing is less consistent than something like the Highwayman, which is just duelist advance, point blank spam, that kind of thing. Like, other DPS classes are usually more consistent than the Bounty Hunter. The Bounty Hunter's just brushing over the stuns. Yeah, that's so weird. Really good if you're high rolling. So naturally, he's going to get a little better near the end of the game when you get some trinkets. I'm really trying to make this character sound like it's just this unskilled mess where you just have to, like, crit. Otherwise, it sucks. That's not true at all. His trinkets are decent. Some of his earlier trinkets are actually surprisingly good. Like his common trinket that boosts his speed and his dodge is pretty good. The Hunter's Talon, which boosts crit and accuracy, is pretty good, even if you have to eat extra food. He has a bad trinket like that camping helmet's kind of... This is before I knew Hunter's Talon. Like, it doesn't affect hallway hunger checks, and you can take it off at camp. So this is just all upsides. Hunter's Talon's insane. Meh. His Crimson Court set's a little extra food. He has a bad trinket like that camping helmet's kind of meh. His Crimson Court set's a little frustrating. Why did I talk about wounding helmet? The camp helmet's actually okay because of the scout chance. Because when they were designing it, you just get this feel where it's like, it's almost too good because it has to be able to cover all of his options, right? He has to have his Caltrops buff, his Come Hither buff, or his uppercut if you actually use that. And then also... if you actually use that? What? So he has to still be good at marking. And so we're gonna give them all this damage boost if they're marked, but it's like, oh, it's all kind of too, it might be too good, so let's just put the minus dodge on there because we don't want to put minus stress, or I should say added stress. And I think actually, I will say this, it's smart to give it minus dodge over added stress because he's usually the one killing things, so he's gonna lower his stress automatically by critting and killing stuff. So actually the minus dodge is way more painful than that. If it was like plus 10% stress, I would not care. But the minus 10 dodge is like, oh, that kind of hurts a little bit. His Crystal Mask is pretty good. It's never bad to have speed and dodge, and then like 5% stress is kind of an afterthought. It's good, but it doesn't really help him too much in terms of what he's trying to accomplish, unless you're trying to have him mark first. Otherwise, what are you talking about? Mask of the Timeless, you get to stun first because you're faster. It's good. Usually want him to be the one to kill stuff, so you want damage instead of speed, even though speed does help you kill. So Crystal Mask still good, just doesn't fit him too well outside of giving him some protection because he's on the front line. It's good, as man. I was saying before, I would usually rather take a Highwayman every time instead of a Bounty Hunter, just because the Highwayman's more consistent. And that actually that hurts to say. His camping skills are also pretty underwhelming. Like the scouting and surprise chance are actually nice, but planned takedown, usually a lot of the bigger bosses, it feels really bad putting 4 camping points into a single person buff for a specific enemy. Right, this is something like, let's see if I praise Highwayman's 4-point camp skills. If you wanted to boost your boss killing and they occupy 2 spaces, you take planned takedown, but usually protection is kind of the Achilles heel to that because anything with some extra protection is going to cut into this pretty hard. He can lower prot, and then also prot isn't common on a lot of bosses, right? The crew, if you play it correctly, the prot doesn't matter. Necro doesn't have prot, Prophet doesn't, Swine King doesn't, Cannon has damage reduction and prot, Hag doesn't have prot, Siren doesn't have prot. What the hell am I saying? Flesh does. Part of the Flesh doesn't, but yeah, Flesh mostly does. Did I say Flesh? I misspoke. And debuff the Cannon, true. So, as I was saying before, if I'm spending 4 points, I'd rather be a party buff or something just straight up incredible that I can justify it on. And I don't think that a little bit of bonus accuracy and some extra damage is the thing. Like, I would rather spend 2 points on his "this is how we do it" skill and just get the extra crit instead of some that works for everyone, I should say, against everyone, instead of this 4-pointer that only works on big bosses. Oh my god. Next up is, you know what, I'm happy I put the big boss reference in there, but my god. It's one of my personal favorites and something that I definitely could have made a case for being maybe the best character, or definitely in the top 3 previously, but that's the Flagellant. Why? Are you kidding? Why don't I just go left to right? Oh my god. Poor little guy used to be easily S tier, has fallen to probably like high B tier. I know I'm saying that it's not more of a left to right thing, but the more I'm thinking about it as I'm doing this, I'm definitely thinking the current 3 are going to be lower than the next people in the B tier, if that makes sense. His stats are honestly mediocre, all things considered. A man's got 9 speed. Good bleed res. Considered, he's got kind of low HP, but that's because he has easy ways to heal himself. His dodge is kind of low for a frontliner. His speed's actually really good at 9. His base crit's kind of low, and his base damage is pretty low, but there are definitely reasons for that. So back in the day, Punish used to be able to hit the 3rd rank, which made it... Is this whole review gonna be like based off old Flagellant? Because that... who cares? Talk about current Flagellant. Just absolutely nuts. Because you could hit, you know, near the back with something that's pretty strong and put a 5-6 point bleed on him, and it made Reign of Sorrows actually decidedly worthless for the most part, because this way it was easier to just chunk down someone squishy in the back and not have to worry about it, instead of having to deal with them for a couple turns as Reign of Sorrows bleeds him out. His low HP skills like Exsanguinate and Redeem used to be able to be used just all the time. There was no per battle limit, which made them just, again, insane. It'd be pretty easy for him to get low HP because he has low HP. I think they still have the penalties. Hit one of those and he just heal up really easily. Reclaim's actually okay. I thought it wasn't that good at first, but then I actually tried to use it a little more, and then it felt like it's actually a solid supplemental heal, and it kind of... Oh my god, I got something right. Goes in with what he's trying to do, where he's okay getting low HP and all that. The heal is okay, and each individual tick can crit, I think, so that makes it decidedly a little better. He has some solid synergy with the Jester, because you can use Endure to lower someone else's stress and buff his speed, and then the Jester can heal him when he needs it. And then Suffer is solid depending on where you're going to, but usually if I'm looking for a Force skill, I would rather use anything else before Suffer. So it's kind of tough to... it's not bad, but it's never, oh, I need this right here. This thing specifically. His camp skills are all okay. He can cure his own disease. I will trash Suffer forever. Disease, which is really good. Lowering your stress by 50 is never bad. I know that he gets stronger the more torn up he gets, so low HP, high stress, stuff like that. But the fact is, his Affliction, Rapturous, it's still an Affliction, right? He gets really good buffs and all that, but it's still an Affliction. And if you can, it's usually ideal to not be afflicted, unless you're really trying to ride the RNG train of having him not die to heart attacks or just raw damage by giving him death blow resist and stuff like that. Dude, I just get plagued by crit heals. Knocking his stress up by 40 is still ideal, but the thing that gets me about all of these is the subtle, again, tax, as I was saying before. Like, where the Shield Breaker needs to wear an HP booster for the most part. The Flagellant can only lower his stress in the Penance Hall. So anytime you need to knock stress off him, it's going to be, you know, about 2,000 gold depending. And that starts adding up. So if you can, you usually don't want to get him stressed out, especially early on when you first get him. And because his kit is so bleed-centric, you don't usually want to take him into the Ruins or the Cove, where bleed resist is a bigger issue, but you can take him to the fantastic Cove, in the Warrens. He's definitely my first Warrens character that I like to grab. He's incredible in the Crimson Court. I mean, that whole DLC was tailored for him, basically. True. But overall, the high risk, high reward kind of playstyle of having to stress him out or get him low HP and stuff like that is scary. And that's why I don't want to put him higher than B, especially because the nerfs hit him pretty hard. But you don't have to play him that way though, dog. You can just hit Punish every turn or Reign of Sorrows. You don't have to do the Martyr playstyle. At some point, you're going to lose the 13% chance or whatever on Deathblow and he's going to die. or the affliction's gonna screw you in one turn and it might. Hey, I have one skill trinket here. I see the bleed amulet, but you're right, I'm not using them as often. I don't know why. I really don't. Also no accuracy, cringe. Get someone else killed. And this is more of a personal preference. I don't like to play with too much variance. I like to control as much as I can. So throwing it all to RNG with his various different playstyles and percentages and stuff like that is kind of alarming. There's an awkward cut point because we're going to Trinkets. You don't want to end on an upward. Shuff, you don't call out the awkward cuts and jump cuts anymore. You know this. It breaks the viewer's immersion. Inflection, kind of like, that's kind of weird. And then you start talking about something else, but here we go. Trinkets. The trinkets are meh. I know why I said that though, because like I cut out the second half of a sentence, I'm pretty sure. So like I ended the cut in like the middle of the sentence, then just start talking about something else. Like they're okay, and they definitely help him achieve his objectives, but... And actually the way, you know, at that point, if I have to cut the sentence into two halves and I know I'm doing it, then I should just do the whole thing, like the whole sentence over. Just reshoot that part of dialogue. Who subbed? Yo, Flame, thanks for the tier 1, dude. Hope you're enjoying me bashing myself. Very appreciated. Subbies. Flagellant trinkets are meh. You know, I used to like some of these. I liked Heartburst, but it's actually not great. Punishment Hood, I used to like. I don't really like it anymore. Resurrection's Collar. These don't affect Reclaim. That's why they suck. And then the rest of these, yeah, he's got some bad trinkets outside of like Shard of Glass. For the most part, I feel like I have the most trouble doing trinkets with this character. It's always like, yo, Martyr Seal, or one of his class trinkets, and then something else. You know, it's just kind of a toss-up, so it's actually a good idea. If anyone has any flagellant trinket advice, please throw it down there. I'll gladly appreciate it. Otherwise, I think like the bleed charm, or the bleed amulet, or whatever, the green one that gives you bleed chance and bleed resist is pretty good. You know, you can't go wrong with his main source of damage. His Crimson Court set's a little confusing. You get a lot of death blow, which is good. And then you lower his bleed resist, which kind of sucks, because using things like Reclaim, you'd rather have it up. And then move resist isn't a huge deal for him. Move resist is, in my opinion, the worst resist to have. If you have to pick one to be worse, it's definitely move resist. And also with his ridiculous speed, he can move forward 3 spaces. He can get back up to the front, no problem, right? His movement is not an issue. So having move resist on a trinket feels like kind of a wasted stat. And then I'm not a huge fan of his Crimson Court trinket, but that isn't to say that it's bad. It's just not my personal preference. He's also... Why does Flagellant get 3 move again? So he can run and get hit in the face. That's always my understanding. Also religious, which used to be kind of a mixed bag because of certain things with camp skills and stuff like that, but being religious is largely helpful now, especially if you bring Vestal and Crusader to places. Otherwise, Flagellant, very fun character, one of my personal favorites. To sum it up, nerfs hit pretty hard, and now he's... That actually hasn't changed. Flagellant is still one of my favorites. When I made that my favorite heroes video, he was in my top 3. Really good against anything that is part of Crimson Court, so the Fanatic, any of the Crimson Court missions, but outside of there, maybe like the Warrens, it's kind of tough to justify bringing him over someone else. Next up, another S tier character, or previously S tier character that got hit pretty hard with the nerf hammer. The Zone Hammer, the Man-at-Arms. We're starting to get into that territory where you can make a case for like low A tier, but I don't want to have the A tier to be completely just loaded up with things, so I'm making the hard split right here. But the Man-at-Arms used to be easily top 3 characters in the game, and so before I was saying the Flagellant was one, right? And then the Man-at-Arms, the other would actually, well, when we get there, right? When we get there, we'll talk about who that other used to be. Is it Plague Doctor? The third character was in the top, in my opinion, of course, but Man-at-Arms got some pretty big nerfs. The first couple were definitely fair, and that is his big battle buffs like Bolster and Command and all that. They became just one-use things once a battle, which arguably could be a sideways buff, right? You only have to hit it one time. I think it's just Bolster that got it, not Command. And then you get to use whatever else the rest of the time, which is okay. But Bolster specifically, Bolster was ridiculous before, so I definitely understand the nerf. Bolster used to be buffing your speed and your dodge, and that's like buffing your offense and your defense at the same time, which made it incredible, and it also Yeah, dude, old Bolster was nuts. Any of you new players who weren't around before Bolster got nerfed, old Bolster was disgusting. So it wasn't a per battle thing, and it just lasted 3 rounds, so you could actually bolster in those situations where you had a fight in a hallway right outside of a door, or vice versa, like a room battle outside of a hallway battle. And you could bolster on the last turn with the Man-at-Arms and just carry that buff into the next battle, which was really good. And so that got nerfed to high hell, which is, again, fine. But now, bolster is still solid, not as good as it used to be, but it's still nice. And then command is actually, I would say it's better. Command's actually pretty cool with the damage buff while guarding, so you can... How long is this section? Why am I still talking about this character? Oh my god, these two take up like the rest of the video. You just guard your DPS monster, you know, and protect them, and then watch them just crush everything, so that's actually pretty cool. I do need to use command more. Like, I've used it. I'm about to talk about Man-at-Arms and Leper for 20 minutes. I understand how it works, but I just feel like defense wins out in Darkest Dungeon more than offense, so being able to control what the enemies are doing and stuff like that is usually better than just buffing yourself with damage in most cases, so I usually like to take bolster if I have to take a buff. Defender's still pretty good. Guarding an ally, never bad. Taking hits, it's really good on things like the Prophet. And I speed up the playback. Yo, I'm about to, dude. I feel like it's almost 100% required for the second Darkest Dungeon mission, because you only get 3 talismans to block Revelation. So having a a Man-at-Arms with the talisman guarding the person that doesn't, I have become Ben Shapiro. You almost have to do that. Rampart's still pretty good. It doesn't hit the 3rd rank anymore, which really hurts. That's one of the nerfs he got. So you only get to slap the first 2, which again, it's fair. It's just, you notice it's like you'll have something that's almost, you could argue that it's broken in terms of how good it is, and then they nerf it a little bit, and then these characters kind of come back to reality into the mid-tiers, and the Man-at-Arms is definitely following that suit, just like the Flagellant. Then he has Retribution, which is still good. Riposte is never bad, especially with certain group attacks that trigger it. So it's always cool to have something like that. But marking yourself does kind of suck because there are a lot of enemies that get synergy off it, so you have to be really careful where you're doing it. If you want to be super... Oh, the mark synergy ain't that big a deal, dude. It's actually helpful in some cases. Super cheesy about it. Not cheesy, but optimal. You can have the Arbalest with the Man-at-Arms, for instance, and anytime you're using something like Retribution to mark yourself, you can just rally and flare it off the next turn, especially because that's such a waste. She's so slow. She's usually going to go last, but then... Do you really need to, right? The Man-at-Arms is pretty tanky in terms of stats. He's definitely up there. And his lower HP compared to people like the Crusader and all that is supplemented by things like Defender boosting. That's so weird. I don't remember talking this slow. I feel like I talk too fast now and I've had to slow myself down. His prot. Then we come down to his last couple things. Crush is the sad one because the other thing that got nerfed in one of the patches was his damage. He used to do 8 to 6. Dude, Red Hook's been nerfing Crush for years. 16, I believe, and now he does 8 to 14. So he was kind of like low-key really good at also being a frontliner because he's pretty tanky, he has all the support stuff, and then he could crush things for respectable damage, right? 8 to 16 is bounty hunter damage. So he was able to do that kind of stuff up front, which was really good. And then they nerfed it down to 14. It kind of hurts a little bit. It hurts a little bit by not hurting as much, if that makes sense, right? He's not hurting them as much. And then there's Bellow. I don't like Bellow. And the reason is Bellow has to make 2 checks to succeed. It has to make... Okay, what I'm saying here is just completely stupid. I've since changed this, but... Yeah, Crush should have armor pen. That'd be nice. Unwarranted Crush hate from me? Make an accuracy, right? It has to hit the target to actually go off. And then it has to beat their debuff resist to also stick. So that's why I don't like Bellow too much. I'd rather use something like Bolster or Command, because when you have those, you're buffing yourself, right? Those don't miss. You can't miss. I said I'd rather use Command instead of Bolster. I never use Command. When I made this video, I never press Command. Your party with your own buffs. But having to go through Bellow and having to go through those double checks and stuff like that, especially when you get to champion missions and things have more evasion than normal, right? You start having like a baseline 75-80% chance to hit. Bellow gets a lot worse, and then having to beat their debuff resist also makes it not as ideal. So it's like, for your trinkets, do you bring more protection abilities, right? Or quick draw? People have done that before. I've seen it used pretty well, right? You can quick draw your command and stuff like that, get some really early strong buffs going on because you don't really need the speed afterwards, especially if you buff your speed. But okay, did I actually get that right? Am I talking about QDC? Command and stuff like that, right? Or quick draw? People have done that before. I've seen it used pretty well, right? Okay, I never used it at this point, but you know, that is good. Quick draw on Man-at-Arms is actually pretty solid. You can quick draw your command and stuff like that, get some really early strong buffs going on because you don't really need the speed afterwards, especially if you buff your speed. But then yeah, are you bringing debuff charm plus tank charm, accuracy charm plus tank charm, 2 tank charms, right? It doesn't mesh too well. You really have to plan. I don't know about QDC command, but You know, it's there.
Now, what your Man-at-Arms is doing before you even leave.
You know what it is? I'm pretty sure that because command's single target now, right? Is it single target? Oh god, it's been so long. I feel like it's single target, and I like assumed it was group target or group party thing. DD2, is it group? Is it group in DD1? I can't remember. Okay. Okay, good. Woo. Last time I recommend QDC, you're not wrong.
The Hamlet, it's, am I just buffing and cleaning up? You know, am I buffing and protecting? Am I debuffing and damaging? And stuff like that. You have to make that choice before you leave, and you have to trinket accordingly. You can't have it so you change up what you're doing when you get to the boss or something like that. It's just not as effective, sadly. Best part of the Man-at-Arms, though, in my opinion, are the camp skills.
Whenever I talk about, like, you have to do this or that to build characters, it really just shows I didn't know how to build them.
Like, they're all pretty freaking fantastic. Tactics is in the running for one of the best camp skills in the game. It's like old bolster, right? Dodge and crit. So
got that right.
Offense and defense together, and it hits the whole party. There's no 75% chance or whatever, so that's really good.
Old bolster, did it give crit? It was just speed and dodge, I thought. Maybe it did give crit.
Weapons practice, chance to land the crit, even though the 10% damage is okay. And I would actually say his worst camp skill is maintain equipment, because I know he got nerfed in the past. I would like to see that one go to maybe 3. I think 3 costs for the camping skill requirement would be nice.
You know what? That's... People may disagree with that. That's actually a pretty level-headed take.
Instead of 4. 2 would make it pretty insane. I'd probably put it on every time, but at 3 I feel it's pretty fair for a single person.
QDC on Thrall, that sounds very cool.
Buff, right? Seeing 15% prot, 15% damage on a character with gimp damage. Now he's down to 8 to 14 instead of 8 to 16, so you're kind of like...
Bolster's dodge and stress now, but I'm talking about old bolster.
I don't know if I want to buff this guy who's here for... Or I don't want to buff this guy's damage when he's here for buffing the team and protecting allies and stuff like that. His trinkets actually suck, because you remember we were saying in the criteria section of things, we're looking at class trinkets for our analysis. His class trinkets
do suck, bad. Dude.
The Rampart Shield was probably his best one, and that got nerfed with 15% damage decrease, so they're just bad. The Guardian Shield is okay, surprisingly. I do like it. It's kind of tough to use, but the thing that sucks is you're putting...
Rampart Shield's still fine. The first 3 eye patches suck. Actually, the cleansing's not bad. It's just too niche. Rampart Shield's still fine and good. Guardian Shield's actually really good.
Your Man-at-Arms.
Just the issue is you have to run a rank 4 Man-at-Arms, which is pretty hard to set up.
In back, so he doesn't get to use some of his other skills, so he has to like be in the back the whole time, and because you don't have to spam your buffs the whole battle, you really just hit your buffs at the start and you just put guard on everyone, which is okay, but you're basically trading something he's always doing, which is buffing, for him being super tanky in the back, which doesn't take a lot of damage. The backline takes stress, it doesn't usually take direct damage, and you're trading a very precious rank 4.
Here's the Man-at-Arms dies to stress line of thought.
Or slot. That's your archer, that's your sniper, that's your plague doctor, right? That's your control the backline, clean it up kind of thing. You're trading that for something he's normally doing already all the time, which is buffing and tanking. So even then, none of his class trinkets are good. I don't usually find myself putting them on when I have any choice of anything else. So maybe, you know, at the start of the game, if I get one early...
Yeah, I'm using caltrops in every scene.
Else, but otherwise...
I'm using wounding helmet. What is wrong with me, dude? Oh my god.
Mid-game, late game, I'm putting on boss trophies, ancestor trinkets, those kinds of things. I'm not touching the Man-at-Arms trinkets usually. This Crimson Court set's actually okay, but the thing is, it's really pigeonholes you into a specific loadout. It's gonna be...
It doesn't pigeonhole you into a specific loadout, it just gives you the ability to do a lot of things. You don't have to use all of the stats together. Like, it's not... This isn't even a bad loadout. Bellow, Retribution, and Rampart. That's pretty solid. That's a solid set of 3.
The Retribution, it's gonna be Rampart, and it's gonna be Bellow. And then you have like your choice of something else. And when you have to decide between his really good group buffs like Command and Bolster or Guard, I don't like having to make that choice. So again, I'd rather just use neutral trinkets in most cases. Mirror Shield is very cool thematically, right? You think about your Zeldas and other stuff, having reflective shields. Dark Souls 2, LOL. Very cool type of item. And at first I was looking at it and I went, wow, I really want this. And then the more I looked at it and thought about it, this item actually feels like bait. I don't like to use the term noob bait kind of thing because, again, Moon famously called the Jester noob bait and then went, oh wait, this class is actually pretty good. But the Mirror Shield, the reason it feels like it's bait is it does things, right? You see that damage reflection, that dodge and stuff, and you're like, all right, that seems pretty cool.
Production value.
It's in conflict with itself, and then it has an almost wasted stat. Stun resist is pretty good because you don't want to get knocked out of your guard, but Man-at-Arms has some pretty solid baseline stun resist already, and stun is not too common.
Music change is noticeable. For I think it's because, for one, it's too loud, and two, I didn't blend them together like I do now. Like, you're supposed to just blend soundtracks and stuff like that when you're transitioning, but I didn't do that.
Usually the AI isn't as tactical as the player at that level, where the AI with a stun attack is never going to be like, I'm going to stun the Man-at-Arms so the party can dumpster the person he's guarding, right? It's very
Game's gonna stun whoever, dude.
rare for that situation to come up, and usually the player is already aware of that, and they go, oh, that person can stun, and so they're trying to get rid of that monster. The other two are the damage reflection, with the reflected damage coming from what they actually take. So for instance, if it normally does 10, but you have some prod on, and it goes down to 7, you're bouncing 30% of 7, which is a little bit, right? Any extra damage helps, but it's not that much. It's counterintuitive. You're
That's
bouncing
fine.
damage when you're trying to minimize the damage you're taking, so it helps out a little bit, but again, it's not that great. And then you're also buffing your dodge, which means you're not taking damage. So the main gimmick of the shield is to reflect damage, but you're also buffing your dodge so you don't take damage, right? This item is in conflict with itself. That's why I don't like it that much, even though, again, very cool thematically, but
It's really just, it does a couple things. It's like, yeah, you get to dodge, and if you get hit, they take damage. It's not that the two can't exist together, it's that it just does things.
again, for the third time, I would rather use neutral trinkets in just about any capacity with the Man-at-Arms instead of any of his class stuff. So overall, pretty supportive class. The nerf pad hit it pretty hard, so now it's really just good for buffing. It doesn't have like that supplemental damage and cleanup that it used to have. The buffs aren't as overpowered as they used to be. And so in most cases, you're going to find yourself hitting your buffs and then guarding if you need to, and then like riposting
Let's see that one again. Oh, yes.
as they used to be. And so in most cases, you're going to find yourself hitting your buffs and then guarding if you need to, and then like riposting. I feel like that might be the best.
Good.
But still not bad, right? You know, our tier list is short in terms of how many tiers we have, but even if something, again, just because it's B tier doesn't mean it's unplayable and unviable. There are plenty of times I'm like, I need a Man-at-Arms, and that's going in this team. So don't think just because it's in the bottom half or whatever, it's like, oh, I shouldn't play this, it's not that good. That's not the case. Next up is the one that I feel like is easily the most controversial pick on this entire thing. It was the most difficult to place. This character has gone from top to bottom, you know, in the same hour of thought that I've had when I was making
know Leper's next,
whole list and video. And even now I'm still going, should I bump it? But this is where we're landing with it. On the very edge of the B tier.
Dude, is this the ruins? I kind of like it in the 25% speed boost.
Tier. It's the king. So, the Leper, Mr. Self-Sufficient, Mr. I don't need anyone else's help to do anything, to me is decidedly B tier. And there are a few reasons, right? We have to go back to our criteria in terms of stats and stuff. His stats are pretty good. He's got ridiculous hit points. His dodge is actually okay. His speed is garbage, but he doesn't need it. His baseline crit, surprisingly 5. And everyone that thinks of the Leper thinks of these just high roll, you know, 40 damage Hues that take away the first two people for free every single time. But that crit chance needs some help.
Spaghetti.
And it's almost like the devs knew you're going to be stacking it.
What is this team? This team is trash.
Highest base damage in the game, 13 to 26 at max. The only thing that sucks about it is the extreme variance, but the percentages for that variance are fair, right? You see a lot of 8 to 16, 7 to 14, right? It's always minimum and then double what that is. So 13 to 26 is in line with how they're balancing it, but having a 13 damage range means you can get some really good hits and some really garbage hits. Also, his bleed resist being 10 is so bad.
Okay, hold up. I'm talking about the bleed resist, but I'm gonna read this comment. Literally never used bleed out until you finally sold me on a chef. I weep salty tears over how much time you wasted using Wicked Hack. Dude, same. Like, when someone got me turned on to bleed out, I was like, wow, I was not using this nearly often enough. So I get you, man. I got Bonk Vessel. I think it was just like trying to get interesting footage. This is a good Leper setup though. Look at all that crit.
Bad. Bleed is the most common dot. It's in almost every zone in some form or another, and being able to be hit by literally every bleed that ever comes your way is really garbage. And then also it makes healing him with the occultist an actual risk, because you can sometimes low roll the heal and then you're almost guaranteed to get the bleed in most cases.
Let's check that, you little shithead. Let's check this. 85% chance at level 5. Actually, I guess we should just do 0, right? 60 base, it's 50-50. Not guaranteed. Firefox, bro. Firefox is legit. Don't even. Used to be a Wicked Hack fan too? Yeah. Gotta fact check, dude. The other thing too is, it's not that I didn't fact check when I made these videos. It's just there's so much information I wanted to cover that it's really hard to remember all of it. Use Opera GX myself. Man, they offered me a sponsorship. I should have took it. Well, it's not them. There's this sponsor company. They send me an email like every month for Opera GX, and I haven't taken it yet, but maybe I should. It looked interesting. Leave a comment correcting this inaccurate YouTuber. It's okay, I'm making a video takedown of them. I'm gonna try and ruin their career. They'll never have subscribers. I know, like, Solemnity just doesn't exist. Sellout FM. The only things I try and push are things I actively enjoy, like when I did Legend of Keepers, I wanted to play that game. When I did Black Geyser, I played it for free before, and I really like Black Geyser, so I wanted to show that. So I do try and take things I think people will like. But I understand. Firefox used to be good, but they removed the customization, turned it into another Chrome. Oh, yeah. The main reason I use it is actually because of this. You can see it in the videos and stuff. Is I use a plugin called NoScript, and I love that plugin. And Chrome doesn't have a good one of that, so that's why I stay on Firefox. I'm selling Shade Ratto Legends.
The other parts of our criteria were what ranks can they function in. He's only good in 1 and 2. He has no back row game plan. He gets screwed by movement the hardest, and even though his base move resist is pretty high, the fact that move resist does not protect him from the party being moved makes it really easy to screw up his game plan. So even if he
that's ignoring the fact that there isn't just a lot of movement in the game. Like, movement just doesn't... The only thing that moves you consistently is Shambler and Countess. Nothing else really does. Not enough to, for it to be like a big factor.
Doesn't get screwed up by the random move or whatever that gets thrown his way or the party shuffle. The other party...
NoScript is amazing. Finally, another NoScript user. Dude, it's so good. Haven't had a virus in freaking years, and knock on wood. But, yeah, NoScript really keeps you safe. People used to crap on raid adverts and those who shield it, but at this point, just respect the hustle. Dude, they offer some serious cash. That's why everyone takes it. You know, it's pretty hard to say no a lot of times. What's NoScript? It's a plugin for Firefox. I'll tell you more about it after this video. I knocked on my desk and Echo woke up.
Could just be thrown in such a way around him that he just gets put to 3rd or 4th, and then he only moves 1 space at a time, so it's pretty tough for him to fix it, which means the whole team has to be ready for that scenario. Right, before we were saying how effective and versatile they are, he's not versatile. He's very effective where he's at, but also the team has to accommodate him. Anytime you bring a leper, you have to be thinking to yourself, is there a way I can get him back up to the front with like 1 or 2 other characters, or in at most like 1 turn? Because the most feels bad possible thing with the leper is when he accidentally, just by some circumstance, gets thrown to the 4th rank and you have no way of fixing it, and he has to move up 2 times, right? He has to go forward for both of his turns, and it's just a waste. It feels like such a waste. All things considered as well, for as much damage as he does, all of the high prot enemies usually chill in the front, so he's got this massive damage and he's swinging into things that commonly have like 30-40% prot. Now same with the bounty hunter and the arbalist for the most part also. This is another high roll character. Actually the flagellant to a lesser extent, right? Because of the death blow and the rapturous and stuff like that, the affliction. These lower end characters, if they high roll, they seem god tier, but if they low roll, they just don't seem that strong. And you're gonna notice that as we get higher up in the list, it's consistency that wins out. It's gonna be the characters that seem that they don't have to rely too much on variance. It's always like each turn, this is reliably happening. First
we don't have to rely on variance higher up in the tier list. Meanwhile, puts Grave Robber 3rd, whose entire character is defined by critting rank 3 with lunge.
Combat skills, you're always having chop. That's the reason he's there, is to hit the chop button on anything that comes his way. There was a player I played with in Pathfinder, his paladin could do some pretty good damage, and he called his sword the choppies, and that's what I think about with the leper. In this move, it's always, you gotta give him the choppies. Gotta high roll those 60 damage crits, gotta chunk those frontliners, know what I'm saying? Q is one of the few double target moves that's actually pretty good just because of the leper's insane base damage. And there's nothing more satisfying in Darkest Dungeon than hitting a double Q on like turn 1 that crit kills both of the 2 people in the front. It's just like, oh yes, I want this character every time. Purge is surprisingly good. It buffs his accuracy, it does okay damage with the -40. It's got some solid baseline accuracy for a character that doesn't have good baseline accuracy. And clearing corpses is really good. There are only a couple moves that do this. The Plague Doctor, I believe, has the other one. I can't think of another one off the top, but we'll probably see it if there is one. But Purge just adds to his self-sustainability. You know, those situations where I don't want this character up here, I'm gonna just slap him all the way to the back row. Or these corpses are in my way, I want these squishies in the back. Purge, it's all good, right? So he does have a way to get around those tanky frontliners. So if you have like for instance, if you're in like the ruins and you have that big skeleton that takes 2 spaces, he has high prod, you just slap him to the back row and then you just kill those archers and the tempting goblet dude in the back. His self
Oh my god. For some reason, my brain, every time Court's here, uses Tempting Goblet for like years. It would go, Tempting Goblet, like some stupid cartoon skeleton. I forgot about that. Also, good luck purging the Bone General with his like 90 move res.
Buffs are actually not that detrimental. It may seem like it. I would still slap Revenge on him every time, especially in the big battles. Even if he has 25% extra damage taken and minus dodge and all that, his inherent tankiness is still pretty good. I don't mind making that trade because you get that damage bonus, that crit bonus, that accuracy bonus. He's going to start wrecking the turn after. Withstand is okay. The extra prod is really helpful. The various resistances are pretty good, but the only resist he has to be afraid of really is bleed. And his is so low that buffing it without an extra trinket to help it out is still okay, but it doesn't seem like it would help that much. And then marking yourself, again, is never too good of a thing. Solemnity is fantastic. I don't know if it's Solemnity or Solemnity. I'm going with that one, but it's the same thing that the Abomination gets where you heal yourself, drop stress. Really good. Adds to his reputation for being self-sustained. And then Intimidate, I think, went through a change. I don't remember it doing exactly this, especially the Stealth, because Stealth's a new mechanic, but you get to drop Stealth, which is helpful, but mostly with the Leper, you're not using...
Did I revenge in the hallway? Oh my god.
Using your turn to debuff, if that makes sense. You're not using your turn to set someone else up. You're using your turn to kill something. So in most cases, if you're not using your emergency self-heal, or buffing, or hitting Hue, or hitting Chop, your Leper turn is usually wasted.
Oh god, I really didn't understand Intimidate.
Camp skills are actually pretty good. Even though he's in the...
Are they? Yeah, they're alright. He's got some good camp skills. Bloody Shroud, very good actually. Cat hair fishing out of my water.
The bottom half of the tier list, I would definitely say the Leper is in the top half of camp skills. They're all focused on himself for the most part, but they're pretty cheap for how strong they are in terms of the points they cost. For instance, laying the mass down, only 1 point, but you get minus 25 stress is pretty high. And then 5 stress on everyone, not too big of a deal. It's not backbreaking or anything like that. So you're lowering 25 to put in 15, so it's a 1 point for a net gain of 10, which is alright. And buffing his resistances is pretty good, but usually you don't need all 4, so you can just get away with using a trinket to buff something specific if you need it. But again, at 2 points, it's actually pretty good. But usually you're going to be using...
I was talking about how crappy his bleed res is, and there's a move that fixes it for a very cheap 2 points, and still not taking it.
Reflection, for 1, minusing stress is usually pretty good, so taking off 20 by itself is nice. Getting 10 accuracy is something he desperately needs in most cases, and then getting 8 crit on top of that for 3 points. We've seen some other abilities. Let's compare, right? Let's think about the Bounty Hunter with his plus 15 accuracy and plus 25% damage conditionally, not unconditionally, just conditionally costs 4 points. Then we look at Reflection, unconditional accuracy, unconditional crit, unconditional stress lowering, 3 points. It's a really good skill. Usually when I bring a Leper, this is the first button I hit, depending on who else is there. And Quarantine, pretty good if you need to lower some of the companion stress. Because he's so tanky, losing 20% HP isn't a big deal. He can self-heal that back in the next battle, like it's not even a big deal. And again, only 3 points. Very handy, very efficient skills for the Leper. All of his class trinkets are actually pretty solid. I don't have that thing with the Man-at-Arms where it's like, I'd rather just bring a neutral trinket 100% of the time. There are cases you can...
No, he's got, like, the common ones kind of suck. Actually, no, they don't. The common ones are alright. Healing Armlet, just kind of whack overall, but, you know, usable. A Redemption Armlet, pretty solid. Fortune Armlet, probably his best one. Berserk Mask, obviously very good. Unity Mask is really good too, but I don't know, a lot of people don't run this. I think this one's really good.
Can make, especially with some of his earlier ones, like the Fortunate Armlet is pretty good, and the Redemption Armlet is pretty good, even at high levels. If you don't have another really good trinket, just having an extra 15% damage for basically nothing, the minus 3 virtues, whatever. So you can't really go wrong with any of his personal trinkets. His Crimson Court set isn't that good, I feel. The minus death blow kind of hurts.
It's alright.
The bonus accuracy of the condition kind of sucks, even though it has its own way to protect it with the extra prot and the extra HP. The minus stress is okay, so it's a good set, but I feel like if you want to do something else like a focus ring, you can get more out of it if you use a focus ring and something else. And then the Petrified Amulet is weird. Bonus accuracy if you have a bandage. Minus bleed resist, he's not blocking anything anyway. And then bonus HP is still pretty good. And it's only one thing, it's not a set, so that's okay. But normally with the Leper, and spoilers, I'm going to work on a class guide in a bit, probably sometime next week, but you can usually just get away with the focus ring and like the Ancestor's Pen or Crescendo Box or Bracer or something like that, and that's really all he needs. But again, if you want to slide in some of his regular trinkets, those are...
Was I alluding to like doing a class guide for Leper in like 2019? That didn't come out till last year.
All pretty good too. In summation though, Leper needs some kind of help from a trinket or from the team in most cases. As self-sufficient as he is, he still needs other people to help him out to get targets where he needs them or to...
So Leper actually doesn't need people to put targets where he needs them. He can just blow through whatever he wants, and every character has trinket attacks, so both of these points aren't correct.
to compensate for his shortcomings, like his dreadful accuracy. Really likes having the Jester, I feel like. Any leper party, I always find myself bringing a Jester just to hit him with the...
Every leper party I make, I bring a Jester. Yeah, dude. Totally. Mm-hmm.
Battle buff for him specifically just gives him crit and accuracy. That's all he really wants. Ironically enough, the best way to circumvent the leper's biggest weakness, which is his positioning, is to not bring a full party. You can't get thrown to the 3rd or 4th slot if there's no 3rd or 4th person in the party. So having a party of double lepers, like one leper and one healer, can work. I wouldn't advise it on high level stuff, but if you really want to have some fun and challenge yourself and grind out every battle by having to spend like 6 turns chopping and hewing, then you can definitely do it. Regardless, that's going to do it for the B tier and the video. Thanks for watching. Let me know what y'all are thinking in the comments, because I'm sure we have some agreements and disagreements. I've already seen some other people's tier lists in the midst of editing this one. Make sure you sub and all that garbage, and even hit the bell because I'm kind of sporadic with uploads, and feel free to come harass me in Discord, which I have a link in the description. And next...
I gotta take this link out. This is an old channel I used to be a part of. Don't sub to it. Okay. There we go. I guess we'll, I guess that's it for this one, so... Man, that was painful. We'll watch the next one some other time. I'm not doing it right now. You sub to it? Oh, God. I don't work on it anymore, and the people, or one of the people involved with it, we had a falling out, so we don't talk to each other. Marvin CO mods time? What are we doing? We just play DD1. Now, let me get off the screen.